Hello, I'm Jan Zovickian, longtime Piedmont resident, and this is one of the beautiful parks in our fair city, now known as Hampton Park. It's got a swell baseball diamond, plenty of grass in the outfield for year-round sports, including soccer and flag football, a sweet little play school, state-of-the-art tennis courts, and basketball courts, plus charming walking paths. If you've just moved to Piedmont, you probably consider this park just another wonderful feature of our community. But I'm here to tell you, it hasn't always been the park you now enjoy. Once upon a time, the famed artist Norman Rockwell came to town, when today's Hampton Park was just undeveloped open space where Boy Scouts like Piedmonter Cameron Wolfe used to roam. In this Rockwell painting, Cameron is the scout on the right in the tent.
I had the privilege, and it was exciting, camping out in the area that was Hampton Park. Twice, my Boy Scout troop was an Oakland troop. And at that time, where the baseball part of it is now was kind of an open dirt field.
Sara Lillevand is the head of the Piedmont Park and Rec Department. She's thrilled with Hampton Park because these days it's so user-friendly.
My family moved to Piedmont in 1974, which I think is the same year the park opened, and I spent a lot of the next 10 years at that park. I really feel like I grew up in many ways at Hampton Field, and so it's been really, really fun for me to be a part of the revitalization of a place that was really meaningful to me in my childhood.
Back in the day, the land that's now Hampton Park was owned by the school district. The Gene Witter family, a prominent Piedmont clan, purchased the parcel from the district and began the process of turning it into a park for young people. Director of Public Works Chester Nakahara says the family had a vision.
It was originally developed in the early 70s as a gift from the Witter family here in Piedmont. The park was to be for the youth of Piedmont, for the little people. The Witter family purchased the property from the school district, and then they donated all the money that was necessary to develop it as a park, and then it was gifted to the city.
But renewing the legacy takes time. To get from the before to the after is a huge process. Take a look. But this plot of land, as wonderful as it was as a playground for its first 30 years, always had its problems, and chief among them was, in a word, drainage. Through the years, time, use, and weather teamed up to make Hampton Field a prime spot for a redo, according to Piedmont City Administrator Paul Benoit.
It's the one park in Piedmont that almost every kid in the community touches, whether it's soccer, baseball, tennis, basketball. Almost every family experiences Hampton. And Hampton, from what I understand, has been kind of a problem almost since the day it opened. You know, we've had those flooding problems in the outfield. Year after year after year, we shut it down for a couple of months. We re-turf it. You know, we spend $20,000, $30,000 every year just repairing damage.
The park has actually been a topic of discussion in the city for 30 years plus, mainly because the drainage has never been as good as it should have been done for that park. The field in its previous configuration acted like a bathtub that overflowed every year. And so when it overflowed, it took the infield dirt with it, and it also was not conducive to the lawn revitalizing itself. So it was always very muddy and difficult to play on.
You could never count on the field to be in good shape. You know, we'd maybe get a couple weeks in the fall where it was in decent shape for soccer, and by October not so good, and by November really bad, and then we'd have to close it down until February just to kind of get it salvageable for baseball season.
The City Council allocated money to request for proposals that would then allow the city to hire a landscape architecture firm to develop a master plan to not only upgrade all the features, but to also look at the drainage system for the park.
The city had some of the money that would be needed for the project, but since the tab would be nearly $2 million, much more would need to be raised. Piedmont had many groups willing to step up in a big way, forming a tremendous public-private partnership.
Piedmont, you don't much have to ask. You know, there are people knocking at the door. In this particular case, because we had the Measure WW funds, a little over $500,000, and we really didn't have budget resources to do the whole project. Pretty much unsolicited, we had residents in some of the sports programs. The Ladies Tennis Club made donations, and then the PRFO, the Piedmont Recreation Facilities Organization, it was in excess of $300,000. So with those donations, it was sort of a no-brainer for the council to say, let's do the whole project.
Please accept this letter as a pledge of $25,000 towards the Hampton Park renovation project. 43 years ago, our family moved to our home on Sotelo Avenue in Piedmont, just above the fields and courts at Hampton and LaSalle. Little did we know of the countless hours that we spent at these facilities by our daughter and son and their friends as they learned the games of basketball, baseball, soccer, and tennis, and experienced the valuable lessons that athletics offer to youngsters.
PRFO is pleased to help fund with $150,000 the improvements at Hampton.
I have some small checks, not big checks, that I'll leave with Sarah, one from our family and one from another family that wasn't able to be here tonight, but also is very anxious to see this project move forward now and as a single-phase project.
In the city council chambers, we had $300,000 stand up and pledged in a single meeting towards this project. That's remarkable and really speaks to the generosity of this community, and I think also to the real need of this project and how strongly people felt that it was time to take care of this gem that really needed to be polished.
After about 8 years of talking and planning, the redevelopment project at Hampton Field finally got started. It was the summer of 2016. The city had interviewed many contractors who were willing to do the work, but in the end, they hired people who everyone agrees really cared about the project.
We got a very good contractor in Suarez and Munoz. They have proven themselves during the construction to be very efficient, very good on their budget, and they are also very good at making suggestions to us that would either improve the efficiency and playability of the park and also might save the city some money.
Nancy Kent, Piedmont's Parks and Project Manager, says the landscape designer was also carefully chosen.
The landscape contractor pretty early on took ownership of the park, which meant that if they saw a problem, they would call us up and say, you know, we think we need to add a little bit more irrigation here, or did you know that there's not a drain here? So the collaboration between the city and the landscape contractor, I think, has just really meant that the installation was a very good installation. The people that were installing it really cared about it, and that's not always the case with a public installation.
Hampton Field is a relatively small space considering all the activities going on here, and each had to be addressed individually.
We refurbished every aspect of that park, from the tennis courts in the back, the basketball courts. Actually, there's a little play school in the area for preschool kids that was completely refurbished. And then what most people see up front is the baseball, which is also used for soccer.
Many of the components of the park are the same, the tennis courts, the basketball court, the ball field, but they've all been so re-engineered that it's really a whole new park.
It opens up a lot of square footage for lots of uses. So we'll have more space for youth soccer, we'll have more space for flag football, we'll have more space for a lot of our smaller youth programs, we'll have a lot more space for summer programs, and multiple things happening at the same time.
But the drainage problem was at the top of the list when the work began. It was started in June 2016 and was completed the following year. The project was a huge puzzle with pieces that had to fit perfectly. The design scheme for the underground piping is called a sand slit drainage system, and in this park there are two separate systems, one under the artificial turf portion on the baseball diamond and another under the natural grass outfield.
This new sand slit drainage system is really, I think, state-of-the-art. All of the water that falls on the grass will actually quickly go through the sand and into a piped system. And there are specific machines that have been created to actually put this in. It digs a very narrow trench about every 10 feet, and it digs the trench, it lays the pipe, and then it puts sand over that pipe, all in one operation.
One of the people who was at the park every day overseeing the work was Rosario Romo, the construction inspector.
These V ditches right here
Yeah.
feed into this drain system, which is the one you're standing on,
Yes.
and it all connects to one main drain system underneath the play school area.
That is so cool.
So you have your deep channel system, which has a 2-inch perforated pipe. Off that area that has a 2-inch pipe, you have sand channels that aren't as deep. They're higher, so they collect all the water and send it to this main pipe, and that's how it goes into the storm drain system.
In a sense, we have a net of drainage systems that underlay the grass in the outfield.
After the underground drainage was installed, the top layers of turf were put in place. First came the artificial turf on top of the baseball diamond.
The artificial turf is like a carpet. So it comes in rolls that are sewn together, and they have a machine that was specially designed because it actually does stitch the base material of the artificial turf together. So what goes on top of the artificial turf is a mixture of sand and cork. That covers up the base sheet, provides the bounciness for players, and of course affords the drainage that needs to occur in an artificial turf field.
And over the outfield is a layer of very special natural turf that lets rainwater penetrate and get down into those drainage pipes.
This is turf that is grown in a total sand medium. And so what that does is that gives us a very permeable top layer to this very extensive subsurface drainage system, which is also sand-based.
Not only does it look better, but I think it's actually safer for the players because of its firmness and ability to drain. There should be less slipping and there should be less mud.
And when the turf was all finished, Chester, Nancy, and some others had a wave moment. And because baseball players come in all shapes and sizes, this special diamond is actually adjustable.
The bases are adjustable. There are white squares that designate first base, second base, and third base. Slightly shorter distances, you'll see there's black dots. And those are where the shorter bases can be installed in the AstroTurf on a temporary basis, and that could then cater to the even younger group of T-ball players. As part of the landscape plan was the removal of some existing trees and replacement with new trees. So we had that done early on during the construction, so we wouldn't disturb, any of the new work that was being done.
The baseball diamond and adjoining sports field take up about half the area at the park. The other half has a play school, which was built earlier, and tennis and basketball courts. Both of these areas were also completely redone.
We're putting in new posts and tennis nets. The fencing was refurbished and replaced as a request of the City Council. Along with that, we put up the new windscreens, and it makes their experience there playing tennis better when it's not so windy.
And the basketball court is now in top condition with new paint and new baskets and nets. Maybe some future Warriors will practice here. And what looks like a simple stone wall along the back side of the park actually took the work of a specially skilled craftsman who assembled it stone by stone, each piece like a puzzle that had to fit perfectly.
Did go with a veneer stone face on the wall, which is very beautiful. It's hand placed stone by stone, and then you have the purpose of the wall, which it's structurally holding up the residential slopes on the backside. It basically deflects water where it's got to go into the new drainage system.
And each of the park entrances, one on Hampton and one on LaSalle, also have new stone planters, each engraved with the park's name and surrounded by specially fitted stones.
It's gorgeous. It's really going to be a nice park to hang out in. There's a lot of new areas to sit and benches, and there'll be picnic areas, which really was not the case in the past. That's all there now, and in a really beautiful setting. There's a beautiful rock wall in the back of the park, there's nice pathways. It's really now a park.
Moving forward, this will be the John Raymond Heggie Memorial Backstop. John was a Piedmont native and an Oakland police officer who was killed in the line of duty in 2009. But before John went into his career in law enforcement, which he loved and he was extremely passionate about, John coached football at Piedmont High School. He also umpired hundreds of baseball games right here at Hampton Field. My memories of John are right here, right where I'm standing actually, right behind home plate, a commanding presence behind the plate, not just controlling the game, but teaching and educating the kids, the coaches, the younger umpires who were out on the field. And I think it's so fitting that we honor John right here, where he made such an impact on our community.
Today, visitors to Hampton Park may see day campers enjoying the beauty around them as they learn new skills and meet new friends.
We are going to really use it a lot for summer camps. So from the Recreation Department standpoint, we're launching Camp Hampton this summer, which is a new camp for us. It'll be an all-day camp for, I think it's 1st through 5th grade, so elementary school age kids, using all the different parts of that wonderful park.
Or they may see some kids playing baseball, or a pickup basketball game underway, or some serious tennis being played.
I think this field will allow maximum programming for the Recreation Department to help relieve that problem of not having enough field space.
I think the biggest change is that we're going to have a more year-round use of the park. So by having that artificial infield, the Recreation Department can program almost all year round.
One of the council goals and priorities is to make sure that not only our services but our facilities kind of reflect the quality of the community. In Hampton, that was long overdue, and we finally got it done.
If you're enticed into the park, be sure to notice the beautiful new entrances, the Hampton side and the LaSalle side. Here at the LaSalle entrance to the park, you'll find this mosaic baseball made decades ago by some Boy Scouts who wanted to thank the Witter family for their generosity in making this park a reality. It's a reminder of the thoughtfulness and generosity of the citizens of Piedmont, who value open spaces and recreation for all. Thanks for watching. Now come out and enjoy Hampton Park.